إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So we'll start off the Ayyam Sajjadiya with Tilawat the Quran with Brother Heather Zadie to start. By Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Allah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي هجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Ahsan. Thank you, Brother Heather Zadie for a beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran. Can we get a loud salawat for Brother Heather Zadie? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil. Next, we'll start off with a salam by Brother Zain Syed. He'll be reciting a piece of poetry in Urdu. By Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allah.
So the salam I'll be reciting is from the perspective of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, who despite being in chains begs those around him not to make noise so Bibi Sakina doesn't wake up. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. मचाओ शोर ना लोगों सकीना जाग जाएगी मेरी जंजीर ना खींचो सकीना जाग जाएगी कभी बच्ची को तकता है कभी आंसू बहाता है दरे जिंदान पे बैठा मुसाफिर सब से कहता है जरा आराम से गुजरो सकीना जाग जाएगी मेरी जंजीर ना खींचो सकीना जाग जाएगी किसी भी जुल्म की जो आह की खातिर वो लब खुलते तड़प कर आब दे बीमार ये कहता था होंठों से अगर ये आह निकली तो सकीना जाग जाएगी मेरी जंजीर ना खींचो सकीना जाग जाएगी अगर औलाद वाले हो तुम्हें ये सब पता होगा अधूरी नींद से उठ जाए जो बची तो क्या होगा खुदारा शिमर को रोको सकीना जाग जाएगी मेरी जंजीर ना खींचो सकीना जाग जाएगी सलावत
Thank you, Brother Zain Said, for a beautiful recitation. Can we get a loud salawat for him? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So, before we begin the majlis, we'll just do some announcements. First announcement is there should be a donation table in the back, and we also have Zelle QR code. Please participate in contributing with your part to help the Majlis of Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. Please make sure not to eat or drink any juices or in here in the hall. Make sure water is okay, but please clean up after yourselves when you leave. These majalis will continue until Sunday, July 12th. Please continue to join us at the same time. And if, yeah. So before we begin with Maulana, please can we do a Fatiha for the Muharrameen of sponsors, Sayyidina Sahir Hussain, Sayyid Maulana Raza Agha, Sayyid Shahrbanu Khan, And that's it. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad sallallahu. And can we get another Fatiha for the Shohada, Muharramin, all of those oppressed people and within the war that's happening currently? The people of Iran, Palestine, Lebanon, Pakistan, India, anywhere who's oppressed, and especially we should keep in mind of what's happening this weekend with the the funeral of a great alim. So to make sure to keep that in mind and keep him in your prayers. And can we just do a quick Fatiha for him and his family and all the Shohada with him? So now, before we begin, I'll do a quick bio of the Maulana today. Maulana Sayyid Ali Kazwini currently resides in the holy city of Najaf. He is pursuing his Islamic seminary since 2003. He also has a degree in sociology from the Eastern Michigan University. He has lectured across the United States, Canada, and other countries, and he's seeking to disseminate the teachings of Islam and Ahlul Bayt. So without further ado, I would like to call him up to begin the Ayyam Sajjadiya by Muhammad wa ali Muhammad sallallahu.
Thank you very much. For the love of our Master, our beloved fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin, let us all recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك المظلومين. صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله. يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة. يا غريب يا مظلوم يا شهيد كربلاء. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Respected brothers and sisters, illuminate your hearts and minds and this majlis with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Abu Dhar al-Ghifari was a famous and great companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi and of the Ahlul Bayt. He was once asked, why is it that people are so afraid of death? In the Islamic paradigm, we have an understanding that death is not the cessation of all life. If you subscribe, not to Mr. Beast, But if you subscribe to an atheistic worldview, death is when your cellular activity stops, cessation of all life, and there's nothing afterwards. But within the Islamic paradigm, within the paradigm of Tawheed, death is transitioned from one form of life to another. And depending on your actions and the way you behaved here in this dunya, it could be a big upgrade from economy to business class, or you could be shoved out of the plane and fall down. So he was asked, why is it that people are so afraid of death? You find usually when we gather, we have these big feasts in our houses. You know, the uncles and the aunties are all there. And they're gossiping about everyone left, right, Fatima, Ali, Zayn, right? All types of stuff. And they're talking about, she bought this gold and his wedding was like that. And they went to Maldives for the honeymoon, right? All types of stuff. All good stuff, right? But inshallah, no ghibah. All types of subjects are covered. But the only thing people don't talk about is death. It's uncomfortable. No one wants to discuss that. Abu Dhar, he said, the reason people are so afraid of death is that we live in this dunya and we build for this dunya. But there is another life that we're heading towards. The trajectory is that we're going to reach there soon, but we have no preparations. We're not ready. We haven't built anything for that other dunya. Many of us go empty-handed to that other dunya, and that scares us. Here in this dunya, our portfolio, mashallah. You open the portfolio, you've got stocks. All the way from Walmart. If you invested recently in Nvidia, mabruk, mashallah. Your stocks are probably doing pretty good. Our portfolio runs very deep. We spend time, we spend our capital, we spend our mornings looking at the stocks. We spend much time pursuing our careers, trying to be professionals in our careers, which is very good. But we do all this while completely neglecting the upcoming dunya, the upcoming transition. What have I built for my upcoming dunya? So Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, he says that's why people are afraid. They go and they're empty-handed. They know that there's an interview. As soon as this life ends and you transition to the next, two people will come and interview you. But if you go empty-handed, what do you have to offer? Now some might ask, why is it that within the Islamic paradigm, there's this emphasis on speaking about death? If it makes us all uncomfortable. What's the point of speaking about death? And if we know we're all going to eventually transition, then how can this benefit us in any possible way? Two reasons, my dear brothers and sisters. If we have a focus on the akhirah and on death, we will achieve two main goals. The first, my dear brothers and sisters, is that if you really pay attention to the akhirah, you will understand that death genuinely is life. It's not the cessation of life, it's the continuation of life. If you look at the Holy Quran, almost every single page, my dear brothers and sisters, open the Quran, open and turn to any page. There will always be a reference to the akhirah. Our lives should be God-centric and akhirah-centric. Every decision you make, you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it to further my career? Well, sometimes that can be a noble goal. Is this to build family ties? Well, that's also a noble goal. Am I doing this particular action, buying this item to impress people or because I really benefit from it? Is Mr. Beast chocolate actually good or am I just buying it because everyone in school is buying it? Everyone in school is buying it? MashaAllah. So we have to ask ourselves these questions. Do we ever stop to think, today was Wednesday, July 8th, what did I do to build for my akhirah? Well, I must have spent my hours somehow. I was doing something. Perhaps it was productive. Perhaps I was just brain rotting in bed, doom scrolling. What did I do to build my akhirah? You find here in this dunya, you have plants. Now, plants, in Arabi nabat, yanmu, all they do is they just grow. And to our understanding, at least in terms of science today, it doesn't seem that they have any sort of conscience, any form of understanding, higher intellect. Then you have higher forms, which are animals. They have some base desires, some simple intellect. Then you have the human being. The human being is an amalgamation of intellect and of desire. Socrates, he claims that the way to happiness is through subduing your desire with your intellect. His theory is the human being is comprised of three parts: spirit, desire, and intellect. A happy human being is one that submits his or her desire to their intellect. If you place your intellect above your desires, you can live a fulfilling, meaningful life. Every step that you take here in this dunya, it has a purpose. Whereas if you submit your intellect to your desires, you will be living no differently than any other animal. Because that's one key difference between animals and human beings. An animal, they have no distance when it comes to their desires. When they desire something, they immediately have to go towards it. Whereas a human being has that distance, and that's the intellect. Before I go towards my desires, I think, I ponder, why am I doing this? Is this to further my own ego, my own nafs al-ammara bis-su, or is this for a higher goal? Is this so that I can build something everlasting within the everlasting abode? You find the Quranic view on death is different than our meager view on life and death. The Holy Quran says, Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. After we're resurrected, people will be looking at one another and saying, Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. I wish I would have done something for my life. Now this is after we all pass away. This is in the Akhirah. This is on the Day of Judgment. Why are people saying, I wish I did something for my life? Because once you see how meager these 60, 70, 80, 90 years were, and you see all that is to come, and you see haqq, and you see batil, and you see everything that you read in the Quran, from the adhab to the verses of heaven and paradise, it's all there. And if you are min ashab al-shimal, you go towards the left, you will look at the right and see, why did I miss out on all this? And for what? Because I couldn't control my desires? Because I couldn't control my tongue? Because I couldn't control my eyes? I couldn't control my base desires? This is why I've inflicted myself this everlasting wound? Ya laytani qaddamtu li hayati. I wish I would have prioritized my life. You'll understand that real life comes after here. Which is why we have a hadith attributed to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, in which they state, النَّاسُ نِيَامْ فَإِذَا مَاتُوا قَعِدُوا. People are sleeping. When they die, they pass away, that's when they wake up. Some people have a misunderstanding that this dunya is one phase, and then after we complete this dunya, we come to the second phase, the akhirah, and that second phase starts. Whereas if you look at our hadith, my dear brothers and sisters, this dunya, this apparent dunya, this exists simultaneously with the alamul malakut, alamul ghayb. At this same moment, within another dimension, there exists the dimension of jinn, the dimension of the angels. According to some of our ulama, heaven and hell already exist, but they are just beyond our sight. However, once we pass through this phase, we unlock access to this new form of dunya. Therefore, knowing that there is this inevitable phase that's going to come, there is no one that has lived forever. No one can escape death. Some of us, perhaps when we're a bit older, we have our gray and white hairs, and some of us when we're a bit younger. Last year, I'm from Dearborn, Michigan. We had a situation, one of my very, very close friends, he's a very dear friend to me. He was at work one day. He receives a call from his fiancée. They were engaged. They had all their happy moments ahead of them, especially during that time of the engagement. Alaykum assalam wa rahmatullah. The problems haven't started. You haven't really met your in-laws yet. So you're living this beautiful life. You're always texting, right? After you do your nikah ceremony. You're always visiting each other. All the best parts of your life are awaiting you. So he gets a call from her. He's happy. He picks up. She tells him, I'm driving and I sense something's wrong with me. He says, what's wrong? He first thinks maybe, she's playing a prank on him or she's joking. As he's speaking to her, the line cuts off. Seems like the phone was dropped. A couple of minutes later, the EMT arrived. She had suffered a brain aneurysm, a stroke, and she passed away before she was able to reach the hospital. And this is someone with no previous history of any medical issues. No cholesterol issues, no previous medical issues, unexpectedly. And this is someone in their young 20s, early 20s. Death does not discriminate, my dear brothers and sisters. Ask those individuals who are tasked with washing the bodies, preparing the kafan and the tabut. They'll say at any given day they have tabut of all sizes. Thus, my dear brothers and sisters, if we know we inevitably will be heading towards that point, what can we do now in order to best prepare for what is to come? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Oh, very good. Thank you. In one narration attributed to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullahi alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi. This is such a beautiful narration. If we don't even have to fully understand all the dimensions and aspects of this hadith, but if we can just begin to understand what the Imam is talking here, this will change your life. He says, لو أعطيت الأقاليم السبع. He says, if I was given all 7 continents and everything that is within them, everything you can imagine, from wealth, from gold, from money, from fame, from status, if I was given everything, power. And there are people that are intoxicated by all types of stuff. For some people, wealth is what intoxicates them, right? As soon as they turn wealthy, they forget, the day ones. They start behaving like a completely different person. And sometimes it intoxicates them so much to the point they forget anything called deen, anything called faith, anything called practice. For some people, it's power. They're so intoxicated. And it doesn't have to be being POTUS, being the president of the United States, or president of some Gulf country. For some people, you have many dictators in the house. You can't be Saddam in Iraq. So what you do is you're Saddam in your house. The moment you go home, after work, you see your kids playing around, you start yelling at them. You see your wife, you start yelling at them. You see God knows who, your neighbor on the way, and they have to have the half of it. So people, they have different intoxicants. But if you understand the trajectory that we're heading to, you'll be able to understand why we avoid this. So the Imam says, if I was given all the 7 continents and everything within them, anything you can imagine, everything you've ever desired, you can attain right this moment. 20 million subscribers on YouTube. 9 digits on your bank account. Anything you can ever imagine, you can have it right now. The Imam says, if I was offered this on the condition, in return for what? Some people, my dear brothers and sisters, they're willing to kill for a mere $100. Some people, in order to further their own interests, they are willing to deprive people of water. In Africa, today, this goes on every single day. Corporations come in, they buy historic lands where water is based, the communities in the area, and then they start charging them for access to that water. And if they can't afford it, well, to hell with you. The Imam says, if I was given all this in exchange that I oppress, who? A Muslim? A follower of the Ahlul Bayt? A Christian? A non-Muslim? Doesn't make a difference. if you oppress a Muslim or a non-Muslim in the eyes of Allah? Some of us were under the impression that if I live here in the West and I have the opportunity to steal from my company, from my coworkers, people that are non-Muslim, is that ethical? Is that okay? To oppress an animal, perhaps? The Imam says, if I was given all this so that I had to oppress an ant, the smallest of animals, that I do what? Slash its head off? Crush its body? That I take the food that was about to enter its mouth. It had the haqq, the right to that food, and I take it away from it. The Imam says, by Allah, I will not even do that. Because if you're Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi, and you understand what this dunya is about, all the stuff we talked about, 20 million followers on Instagram, all the wealth in the world, everything this dunya has to offer, it pales in comparison to what resides in the akhirah. Once Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi, during his tenureship, and remember, he was, what you could say, in effect, the absolute king of 54 modern-day countries. He's standing in his camp. He's waiting for the Roman delegation to come. They're Christians. So his servant is preparing stuff. He walks in on Amir al-Mu'mineen to prep him. He says, the Roman delegation is about to arrive. So he thought maybe Amir al-Mu'mineen is polishing his garments. He's getting ready, spraying some perfume, cologne. He walks in and he finds Amir al-Mu'mineen bent down and he's fixing his sandal. This guy was shocked. He's like, Amir al-Mu'mineen, you have a delegation coming and you're the wealthiest person anyone can imagine. All the Khilafah from Africa, from Eastern Europe, from the Arabian lands, from Yemen, it's all under you. And yet you're busy fixing your sandals? You could just buy a new one. You could buy sandals made of gold. Now, barely even looking up, Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at him, says, O servant, these sandals, I value them more than all of Khilafah. All this power, all this kingship that you guys would kill for, I value it less than I value these sandals. Why would the Amir al-Mu'mineen make such a statement? Because he understands that in the grand scheme of things, this Khilafah pales in terms of what is about to come. If we have the akhirah, the eternal everlasting abode at the forefront of our minds, this empowers us with our lifelong struggle with the devil. The devil, he vowed with Allah Azza wa Jal that from the day Adam will set forth on earth, him and his lineage, I will try to persuade them to join the dark forces. Darth Vader. Sometimes we begin to forget. We're swayed by this dunya. We get too comfortable. We have a nice 5 or 6 figure job. We're making a good salary. Everything in life seems so nice. And then we slowly start forgetting the ni'am of Allah. We start forgetting to come to the mosque. We start forgetting to give our religious dues, sadaqah, the rights of our neighbors. We forget our parents. Maybe for Thanksgiving and Christmas, those 2 events are good enough to go visit my parents. We start getting too comfortable. One way by which we can break this trajectory and we can constantly remind ourselves of that fight with the devil, that lifelong fight with the devil, is by having an akhirah-centric lifestyle. Always, whenever we think, when I wake up tomorrow, what am I going to do? When I wake up tomorrow, what is tomorrow going to be dedicated to? You can divide up portions of the day to work, halal rizq, which according to one narration attributed to Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi, halal rizq, pursuing a halal livelihood, a halal job, is 9/10 of worship. Yes? Worship is not just doing tasbihat, Fatima al-Zahra, coming to the mosque. Part of worship, in fact, 9/10, 90%, is in halal rizq. So you divide up a portion for halal rizq. You divide up a portion for your family bonding time. You divide up a portion for your inner retrospection, for your adhkar, for your dua, for your time with Allah Azza wa Jal. And you divide your time appropriately. If we go into tomorrow blindly, what's going to end up happening? It's 5 p.m. and you've spent 8 hours on Instagram. Or maybe 8 hours, if you're an uncle or auntie here, on WhatsApp. Whenever I see forwarded many times on WhatsApp, I'm like, Allahu Akbar, what possibly could this post contain? This final battle, my dear brothers and sisters, leads to one final inevitable battle with the devil. There's a moment which we will all experience. This is called ihtidar. Ihtidar comes from the word hadara, present. Every person on the deathbed, those final moments, you encounter sakaratul maut. Sakaratul maut is that transition by which your body begins to leave this dunya and head towards the akhirah. Sometimes what happens is the veils are unlifted. This alam al-ghayb that previously was inaccessible, we couldn't see it, we couldn't access it, that veil is lifted. And according to some of our narrations, our reports, there is one final battle with the devil. According to one report, in that final moment, Iblis himself appears. And in fact, there are references to this in the Holy Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states, وَقُلْ رَبِّ أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ هَمَزَاتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ وَأَعُوذُ بِكَ رَبِّي أَنْ يَحْضِرُونَ. Oh Allah, I seek refuge from the whispers of the devil, and I seek refuge when they appear. One of the times that they may appear is during Sakarat al-Maut. Those moments on the deathbed, Iblis will appear. You're on your deathbed. According to the narration, an incredible and exhausting amount of thirst will overcome you. You will feel a thirst that you've never felt in your life. Shaitan will come to you and he'll say, here, have this cool glass of water. Now maybe if you prefer Kool-Aid, it could be Kool-Aid. Or Ruh Afza, whatever you prefer. But the report says water. So you're craving something. You're so thirsty, and this ice cool glass of water comes. And you just like an animal, right? Just without thinking, you extend your hand. But the devil says one condition. Before I offer this to you, you have to do one thing. And you say anything. I just want this right now. And he says, espouse your kufr of Allah. Renounce God. Now, according to our narrations, this is one of the most difficult moments in life. Because if during your life you've always been a yes man to the devil, you'll be a yes man on that day too. But if you've built discipline over the years and you've instilled in your DNA, in your muscle memory, that whenever shaitan says something, I say no. I say no. I refuse. I refuse to my last dying breath. In that moment, you will be able to resist. And this is not this instance, it doesn't only afflict people that don't have high iman. Anyone could be afflicted with this. There's one report. During the time of Bani Israel, there was a abid, someone who was known to worship. He was always that guy that you see at the mosque. You go to Fajr, he's there. You go to the Dhuhrain prayers, he's there. Maghribain, he's there. If one day he's missing, the whole community knows about it because he's always there. He's the pigeon of the mosque. He's always engaging in recitation, in dhikr, in athkar. So he was the go-to for the community when they had spiritual ailments. When someone wanted a dua, they'd go to him. When someone had some type of spiritual struggle and they don't know who to turn to, they would go to him. Now one day, a family comes with their young daughter who is paralyzed. They bring their young daughter to him. They say, we know that she's been paralyzed since birth and we've raised her, and although mentally she's doing fine, but physically she's disabled. We know we've tried everything, we've done all the du'as, and we know you might not be able to do anything, but we just want to give it a try. We want her to stay with you. Please, whatever dua you can do, whatever athkar, whatever prayers, if you can do something, lest Allahu A'lam, Allah might cure and heal her. So he agrees. So he takes her in and he begins reciting athkar, the dua. He begins reciting things that only he would recite in his private time with Allah, not in front of others. Now, as the night is passing, the devil starts approaching this man. The devil comes to him. He says, look, you're a pious man. You're the most respected person here. You are the last person anyone would suspect if anything were to go wrong. And the devil starts whispering and whispering and whispering. Now, in the beginning, he starts saying, A'udhu billah, I could never do anything wrong. This is an amana. This person is amana from their family, a trust. I could never break this trust. But as the night goes on, the devil starts whispering. He uses different tactics. He says, this person's paralyzed. She can't speak. How is she going to convey what's happened? And you're here all alone, no cameras. Until this man does the unthinkable. He assaults this young girl. Now, after he did this, the devil comes to him again. He says, what did you do? He says, what do you mean? You convinced me. He says, what do you mean? I had nothing to do with it. He says, well, you know, she's paralyzed right now, but maybe in the future she might actually get better. And then she will go out and expose you. So you know what you have to do. So he's so conflicted. He starts sweating, but he eventually sways towards the devil. He takes out his knife, and in the midst of the night, where he should have been doing dua, praying, he slaughters this young girl. And then he buries her. Now the devil tells him, look, now this is unreversible. You've killed her, you've buried her, you have to leave the city. Look how in just a few short hours, this man, who was one of the most respected, seemingly most pious men, is now a murderer, and he's on the run. Now in the morning, the girl's family, they come, they can't find her, but they see some of the dirt has been overturned. They dig and they find their daughter. They go, the whole city is searching until they eventually find him. They bring him, they place him on the stake, and they start asking him, how could you do this? We trusted you. But the devil has numerous tactics. No one is immune from the devil. As he's about to be executed, they place the ropes on him. The devil appears once again. He says, do you want me to save you? Again, with these false hopes. Do you want me to help you now? Because no one can help you. Your own people have turned against you, and you're moments away from the chair being pulled under you. He says, yes, anything. I'll do anything for you to help me. He says, renounce God. The moment he renounces God, the chair is pulled. He passes away, and the devil says, you have been fooled. And you have no one to blame other than yourself. Sure, the devil might have whispered, but you're the one that did it. And you're not an animal, you have aql. Allah has granted you aql according to our narrations, and you can open Al-Kafi, the first chapter in Al-Kafi. The aql was the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. The intellect was the first creation of Allah, and it's the greatest creation. Allah has given you this intellect. Use it. This is your most powerful weapon against the devil. And the other powerful weapon is constant reminder of the akhirah. Once, Salman al-Muhammadi and Abu Dhar al-Ghafari, that we just mentioned, they had some friendly banter. So Abu Dhar, he comes to him, he tells him, Salman, how much do you remember, how often do you remember the akhirah, death? Abu Dhar tells him, I remember death so much that every night when I go to sleep, I don't have the amal, the hope that I might wake up in the morning. We are at our core, our soul, our spirit. This body is a trust. It's an amana of Allah. And Allah can take away this trust at any minute. So he says, when I go to sleep, I'm not certain that I'll wake up in the morning. This is the iman and the conviction of Abu Dhar. Some of us, we go to sleep with all our dreams, our hopes ahead of us. Tomorrow I'm going to do this. I've already booked my wedding hall for 2030. But is 2030 guaranteed? Is 2028 guaranteed? Is tomorrow guaranteed? Salman, he looks at him, he says, oh, Abu Dhar, you have too much hope in this dunya. He says, why? He says, as for me, when I draw one breath, I don't have hope that another might come. Every moment I suspect this could be my last breath. Friendly banter between Salman and Abu Dhar. Imam Zayn al-Abidin salamullahi alayhi. Allahumma salli ala. He has very beautiful lines discussing the akhirah in dua Abu Hamza al-Thamali. It's a beautiful dua that he imparted to this great companion, Abu Hamza al-Thamali. And in this dua, the Imam states, أبكي لخروج نفسي. The Imam says, I cry. Why is the Imam crying? A ma'soom, sinless, inerrant. Why is the Imam crying? He says, أبكي لظلمة قبري. He says, I cry for the darkness of the grave. Because you've transitioned to a new place, a new dunya. When you transition to a new city, especially in the days before the internet, before Google Maps, you're a bit dazed. Everything is new to you, especially if you've moved countries. Everything seems like it's a simulation. Sometimes you feel like you're dreaming. This new phase of our lives, the qabr, it's something that we haven't encountered. Physically, the sensations are new. You see different things that you've never seen in your life. Alamul ghaib. And then you're placed in this dark grave. So then the Imam says, أبكي لظلمة قبري أبكي لضيق لحدي. He says, I cry for the tightness of the grave. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saves us from the punishment of the tightness of the grave. It's a very severe punishment. And then the Imam says, أبكي لسؤال منكر ونكير إياي. I cry when those two horrific figures, they approach and they start interrogating me. They start questioning me. Just the sight of them is so scary, you forget everything that you had in your mind. You forget what your name is. He says, أبكي لسؤال منكر ونكير إياي. أبكي لخروجي من قبري عريانا ذليلا. I cry for the time when we emerge from our graves. We're unclothed. أنظر مرة عن يميني وأخرى عن شمالي إذ الخلائق في شأن غير شأني. I look to my right, I look to my left. No one is occupied with me because they're all occupied with themselves. They're not clothed. What are they carrying? Their a'mal. And people that are light-handed. And then the Imam continues, لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه وجوه يومئذ مسفرة ضاحكة مستبشرة. Some faces you'll find, they're happy, they're laughing. They can see what Allah has promised them. ووجوه يومئذ عليها غبرة ترهقها قترة وذلة. And yet some faces, it's as if they're covered with dirt. They're shameful. They're ashamed because they see what Allah has promised them. The stuff that they used to mock, the stuff that they used to say, oh, you're being so religious. Why are you overdoing it? Relax, bro. Now they can see what Allah has promised them. Having an akhirah-centric life, my dear brothers and sisters, makes you a principled person. Every single action that you are about to undertake, what you do in school tomorrow, the friends that you make, what you do with your friends, what you do at work, what you spend with your money, if every moment you think, what I'm doing right now, will this increase my akhirah, build my akhirah, or will it destroy it? This type of thinking makes you a principled man, a principled woman. However, there are people, their principle is whatever the ego, I, says, that is what I do. A prime example of this, my dear brothers and sisters, is Yazid bin Muawiyah. Yazid bin Muawiyah, he used to live in the castle of Jayrun. Jayrun is a suburb of Damascus, Dimashq. And on nights similar to these nights, he recites these following lines of poetry. Yazid says, this is in Tabari, لما بدت تلك الرؤوس. He's looking out the window and he can see the caravan of Imam al-Hussein arriving. لما بدت تلك الرؤوس. When I saw those heads. Now which heads is Yazid referring to? He's referring to the heads on the spears. لما بدت تلك الرؤوس وأشرقت تلك الشموس. And those suns began shining, subhanallah. He knows that he was the cause of this, and yet he even himself can't help but to acknowledge those heads are shining like suns. Then we have to ask you, then why did you do this? To build your akhirah? Or was it because you couldn't say no to yourself, to your desires? على ربا جيرون. On the outskirts of Jayrun, نعب الغراب فقلت صح أو لا تصح فَقَدْ قَضِيتُ مِنَ النَّبِيِّ دُيُونِي. At that moment, according to the report, a crow began screeching. Now in Arabic culture, when a crow began screeching, it's a bad omen. He looks at the crow and he says, "Oh crow, screech or don't screech, it doesn't matter. I've paid my debts from the Prophet." Now what kind of debt is he talking about? He came after the time of the Prophet. Yazid is talking about a blood debt. Now if you want to know more about this blood debt, Yazid himself, in another poem, he elaborates. He says, لَيْتَ أَشْيَاخِي بِبَدْرٍ. If only my ancestors at Badr. Now, who were the ancestors of Yazid bin Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan at Badr? It was the Mushrikeen. They all fought the Prophet. They were the ones that later on killed Hamza. He says, if only my ancestors at Badr, شَهِدُوا جَزَعَ الْخَزْرَجِ مِنْ وَقْعِ الْأَسَلِ. If only they saw what happened in Karbala, لَأَهَلُّوا وَاسْتَهَلُّوا. They would have clapped and celebrated. Why? Because they were on the side of the enemies, the mushrikeen. ثم قالوا يا يزيد لا تشل لست من خندف إن لم تنتقل. They said, Yazid, don't stop there. You are not from the sons of Khunduf, his grandmother, if you don't take revenge من بني أحمد ما كان فعل. If you don't take revenge from the sons of Ahmad. Because the sons of Ahmad, they killed my family, my ancestors. Now I will take that blood debt. And then he continues, لعبت هاشم في الملك فلا خبر جاء ولا وحي نزل. He says Hashim, the family of Rasulullah, they just wanted to play around with power. There was no revelation and there was no Quran. The guy openly admits to being an atheist. Openly admits to being an atheist. And this man is sitting on the throne of Rasulullah. He's supposedly the successor of Rasulullah, and he's claiming no revelation was revealed upon Prophet Muhammad. Do you see, my dear brothers and sisters, the kind of struggles that the Ahlul Bayt had to go through? On nights like this, my dear brothers and sisters, that caravan that was paraded from city to city to city to city. Now the path from Karbala to Sham is not long. It's just a few days. But why is it that after the 10th of Muharram, it took over 2 weeks for them to arrive? It's because Ibn Ziyad decreed that they don't take the shortest path to Sham. They take the path that takes them through as many cities and villages so that the women of Rasulullah are paraded. They're chained, they're in shackles. They're walking while the men and the military and the armed guards, they're on the camels. And every time they would cry out, Wa Aliyah, Wa Muhammadah, they would come and beat them. Every time they would call out for their father, these orphans would cry out, Wa Husaynah, Wa Abbasah, they would come and beat them. Our beloved Imam Zain al-Abidin, Imam al-Sajjad, after the events of Karbala, one companion, he came, he looked at his collar, he looked at his neck, he saw deep incisions. He asked him, Sayyidi Mawlai, what is this? My dear brothers and sisters, mu'mineen, mu'minat, what was this? This was the effect of months of that collar on his neck. That collar in the heat of the sun, walking from Karbala all the way to Damascus with sharp innards. This was your Imam. This was the successor of Imam Al-Khoei. Now usually when a new king is coronated, a new king is appointed, the old one passes away, he has a royal declaration. There is a royal celebration. What was the celebration for Imam Zain al-Abidin? He saw the tents being burned. He saw the women and the children of Ali Rasulullah running from one tent to one tent. Lady Zainab, she comes to him, she tells him, Oh Zain al-Abidin, what do we do? And then he looks at her and he says, عَلَيْكُنَّ بِالْفِرَارِ. You have to go and run. And they start running and running and running. And every time they would cry out, Wa Muhammadah, Wa Aliyah, Wa Husaynah, Wa Abbasah, they would come and beat them. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون فسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Dear brothers and sisters, by these blessed nights of Muharram, we take advantage. We raise our hands in dua and we recite the blessed verse 5 times. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. يا الله يا الله، إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعز الأجل الأكرم. يا الله 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 يا Allah. Oh Allah, send your mercy and your rahmah upon our departed ones, our loved ones, those who have passed away. Oh Allah, send your healing and your shifa from anyone that we know who is afflicted with illness, with sickness, with trials. Oh Allah, send your ease upon anyone undergoing difficulties. Grant them their hajat. Oh Allah, send your ease upon the Muslim world. There is much fitna going on. Ya Allah, to our Muslim brothers and sisters, wherever they may be all across the globe, whether that is Iran, whether that is Palestine, whether that is Sudan, Somalia, Iraq, Pakistan, India, Kashmir, wherever our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters may be across the globe, Ya Allah, send your ease and tranquility upon them. Oh Allah, we ask you to forgive and to send your rahmah upon the shuhada of Islam, the ulama of Islam. We ask you to forgive us of our sins. We ask you to grant us the tawfiq of following the path of Imam Zainul Abidin and the Ahlul Bayt, alayhim afdal as-salatu was-salam. And for the sake of our departed ones, our loved ones, those who have contributed towards this majlis, those who have participated, let us all recite Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. Before that, Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
زيارة. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، يا حسين بن علي الشهيد بكربلاء، السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر، السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى الرضا، السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي التقي الجواد، السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي النقي، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري، السلام عليك يا هجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كامل الكفر والطغيان، السلام عليك يا دافع الظلم والعدوان، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.